Greetings, scribblers! Kent Sean here, and today I'm going to share with you 10 tips to nail the first draft of your novel. As NaNoWriMo draws to a close this month, a lot of you out there have just finished a first draft. We here at the Kent Sean YouTube channel salute you. Writing a first draft of a novel is a major accomplishment, one that most people never achieve. But if you want to be a professional author like I do, it's a task you're going to have to accomplish over and over again. So it makes sense to get this process down to something that's not so terrifying and painful. Here are 10 tips I've developed to help you finish your first draft without wanting to jump out of the window. Tip number 1, know your genre. One of the best things about being a writer are the unlimited possibilities. You can write any kind of story you want, sky's the limit. The only problem is that is exactly zero help in coming up with what you're going to write right now. That's why my first tip to nailing your first draft is to choose your genre. That way, you can narrow the soul-crushing unlimited possibilities down to a manageable chunk of only mildly insanity-producing proportions. I'm going to make it even easier. I'm going to give you a list of genres to choose from. Are you ready? You're going to want to grab something to write this down. Go ahead. We'll wait. There are two kinds of genres to choose from, external and internal. All that means is the conflict is either on the outside or on the inside. Some of the best stories incorporate internal and external genres, but you can get away with just one or the other. The external genres you have to choose from are action, horror, thriller, crime, performance, war, society, and love. The internal genres are status, morality, and maturation. But wait, Kent Sean, though you are unusually handsome and wise, you appear to have left a few genres out. What about fantasy? What about science fiction? What about steampunk? What about unicorn riding boy band fan fiction? You left my genre out. I did that for a reason. Though fantasy and science fiction are commonly referred to as genres, they give you exactly zero information about what's going on in your story. All they do is give you the backdrop against which to set your war, action, or love story. The presence of knights, elves, lasers, or spaceships does not a story make. Your characters must have a goal to strive for, conflict, and a value at stake. For instance, in an action story, the value at stake is always life and death. In a love story, it's love versus isolation. Whether they know it or not, genre is always the most important decision a writer makes. This is what your story is actually about, and the first step towards molding the infinite chaos of possibility into a novel. I could probably do an entire video just on genre. If that's something you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments. The next pro tip for nailing your first draft is write an outline. I think that everyone, yes, I mean everyone, should take some time to think through exactly how they want their story to go. What shape this takes will be different for everyone. For some, this will be a whiteboard full of note cards, save the cat style. For others, it might just be a few bullet points or scene ideas. Now, before all you pantsers out there rupture a blood vessel, I used to be one of you. At least, I thought I was. I used to tell everyone loud and proud I had no idea where my story was going. I just let my characters play. It took me several novels to realize the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
No one is really a pantser. There it is, I said it. What I realized is that, if I was honest, I did have a rough plan on where I wanted my book to go. No one starts writing their brilliant new character and following them on their epic adventures as they gain magic powers, skills, weapons, allies, only to have them retire halfway through and teach typewriter maintenance and live in an efficiency apartment.
My character just wanted to.
You do have some idea what's going to happen in your book. All I'm asking is that you take a few minutes and jot down where you think the book's going to come out. If you have some idea where you're headed, the odds of you getting lost dramatically decrease. Take it from me, writing my first novel, I found myself 160,000 words deep, lost in a tangled mess of subplots from which there was no escape. Tip number 3, silence your inner editor. My pal Neil Gaiman, author of American Gods, Coraline, Good Omens, and about a zillion other awesome books, has one of the best quotes on this subject. For me, it's always been a process of trying to convince myself that what I'm doing in the first draft isn't important. No one is ever going to see your first draft. Nobody cares about your first draft. Or if you prefer it said a bit more simply, here's Hemingway. First draft of anything is sh**. The odds of writing a first draft that anybody will ever want to read is vanishingly small, so it makes no sense whatsoever to agonize over scenes and paragraphs during your first draft. Can't nail a description? Think your settings are lame? So what? Make a note, fix it later. And please, if you find yourself agonizing over just the right word during a first draft, smack yourself. Then put down the first word that comes to mind and move on. Tip number 4, set a deadline. I have always wondered why NaNoWriMo is so popular. Besides the feeling of community and accountability people get from it, I really think having a deadline is what gets people motivated. Douglas Adams, author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, said he loved deadlines for the whooshing sound they made as they went by. But studies show we actually get more motivated and perform better with an impending deadline. So set one. Even if you have to revise your deadline, it's better to have one than not. Tip number 5, set the right pace. If you are setting out to write a 100,000 word novel, the size of the project can be daunting. By setting the right pace, you break that monster job down into bite-sized chunks that are a little less terrifying. There are a lot of different methods to organize your writing schedule. You can go by daily word counts. You can go by weekly word counts. You can make weekly, monthly, or even quarterly writing goals. Whichever method you choose, it's important to balance your writing pace with your life. If you set a 2,000 word a day pace, you can knock out your 100,000 word novel in a couple of months. But if you can't keep up with that pace because of work, school, or
Until we play Call of Duty. Stars and food and can you play Call of Duty after?
Other distractions, you might get discouraged and throw in the towel. On the flip side, if you shoot for 250 words a day, you'll still be writing that sucker in a year and a half. Writing a first draft is all about outrunning doubt. If you go too slow, that evil monster will catch you and eat you alive. Find that sweet spot of productivity and stick to it. Tip number 6, don't take breaks. Taking long breaks while writing a first draft is death. Talk about dying a lot in this, don't I? We want our first draft process to feel like a routine part of our daily life. Whether it's binge watching Netflix or hyperspeed scrolling social media, whatever we start doing in what once was our writing time is now a habit we have to break. When we leave our story and our characters behind, they start to feel stale and old. We start to lose our grip on why we wanted to write the damn thing in the first place. When we stop, it takes a great force of will to start again. Don't put yourself through this. Keep going. Unless somebody dies or your house burns down, don't let anything stop you. If you really want to be a writer, you're going to find a way. Tip number 7, schedule your writing time. This is not always as easy as it sounds. Some of us, still chasing our dream of becoming a professional writer, have a lot of demands on our time. I am constantly having to shift my writing time for work or family. But do your best to carve out your writing time and then defend it with your life. My current go-to is to shut my office door during lunch and work for an hour as my main writing time. Sometimes I have to squeeze in another session to hit my word count for the day. But I always know 6 days a week I will write at exactly the same time. Tip number 8, don't share. When we are down in the trenches crafting our masterpiece, we can become tempted to share with friends and writing partners all of the literary genius we've been spewing on the page. Maybe we're looking for a little pat on the back for our efforts. Or maybe we're concerned our story's moving in the wrong direction and we could use a little friendly advice.
It needs dragons.
There's a lot that can go wrong if you let someone into the private, messy little world of your first draft. What if, instead of the big pat on the back you expected, you get this reaction?
Dad, this is bad.
Well, crap. Now you're not sure if your writing is any good. Maybe you should go back and fix a few things. Change a few characters. Add a new element.
It needs space monkeys.
Now we have completely stopped in our tracks and we're getting nothing done. So keep the dang thing to yourself and press on. We can let our adoring public in later. Tip number 9, use the Pomodoro technique.
Pomodoro means tomato.
The Pomodoro technique is a productivity strategy in which you work for 25-minute blocks of time with 3 to 5 minute breaks in between. People who use this technique report lower stress, higher productivity, and sharper focus. When the magic starts flowing and the muse is whispering in your ear, respect it. Shut off the timer and keep going. But most of the time, I feel myself naturally kind of slowing down around 30 minutes. This technique has really helped me recently, as I am a full-time college student, full-time worker, and full-time dad. I absolutely have to get a lot of work done fast. These short sprints keep me focused, energized, and on task. Last but not least, tip number 10, make your writing goals public. While I do not encourage you to let others read your first draft in progress, by all means tell everybody when you plan to have it done. But wait, won't people put pressure on me? Won't they give me a hard time if I don't finish? Yes, that's the point. Telling others, put your goal of finishing your first draft out into the world. It makes it real. You're staking your hard-earned reputation on getting this thing done. Yes, your friends might make you feel like crap, and you'll probably have to face a certain amount of embarrassment. But guess what, Cupcake? Writing is hard.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Hopefully soon you'll be putting your books out into the world for everyone to criticize. And you're gonna have to get out there and market the hell out of them. Time to learn to eat a little pressure, because there's a lot of it in your future if you want to be a professional writer. Those are my 10 tips for nailing your first draft. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and visit my website, kentshawn.com.
Dad, how about now? You have to read this crappy book. It has rainbow raining plants.